Hi guys, and today we're going to have a look at lavenders. Lavenders are a perennial plant, perennial shrub, and they are generally grown for their flowers, foliage, and their kind of perfumes and oils. The plant itself comes from the Mediterranean, so most of the lavenders are all native to the Mediterranean area, which, if you think about the Mediterranean, is a hot, dry, it can be cold as well. So, and the soils that lavenders and those sort of plants in the Mediterranean grow in is sort of quite gravelly, dry, free draining, and quite often it's based on limestone, and that the limestone has a couple of factors. If it's white, it reflects the light back up, and two, if it's limestone, it's got a lot of calcium in it, so that's also part of what the plant has evolved to like. So when you're thinking about growing lavender in your garden, you've got to think about those kind of natural evolution things that the lavender has gone through. So for that reason, in Auckland, lavenders are not seen as much as, say, down in the South Island, where it's a little bit cooler and the air is less humid, and it's got that sort of high light is another thing. We get the high light here, but it gets a bit humid here, and our soils, slightly acidic, clay soils, so it's not the ideal conditions for lavenders. However, saying that, we still grow great lavenders, and we've got some good lavender farms. In fact, there's one in Waiuku called Leafy Hollow, which I visited, and it was very interesting. It's a worthwhile place to go and have a look at. It's a farm, so it mainly is about oil production, and they've got a still, and also they've got a garden as well called that's the Leafy Hollow bit, the garden, and you can walk around it, and it's got a few lavenders in there, but it's a nice little walk around, and it's an organic one, so it's an organic garden. Pauline there actually produces a lot of oils and a lot of product there, from soaps to insect repellents, and that's how useful lavender is. It's a very interesting sort of plant, being a herb. Lots of herbs are kind of very useful. So if we think about after that, the types of lavender available and which ones are best suited to your climate and your soil. In Auckland, I would say for my pick, it's Lavandula dentata, which is the French lavender. Dentata kind of refers to the leaves and how they've got like sort of like cut leaves. It's like a saw. The shrub is kind of large, around about a metre for a lavender. That's large, and it's got prolific flowers, and it flowers pretty much throughout the year. It attracts bees, grows well. I had it in my garden for around about 10-12 years. I'd lightly clip it back after it's flowering, and it stayed really good, and it was really quite nice with the grey foliage and just having those flowers attracting bees. It's not generally used for oil production. It's just there for either hedges or just for a plant that's going to attract bees and have that nice grey and blue flowers. So if you want to talk about other lavenders, then the lavenders that are really more suited to the colder climates are the English lavender, and English lavender is Lavandula angustifolia, and that is a lavender that is a smaller, compact plant, probably growing to around about 40 centimetres. This is a smaller plant, and in fact there's even a really small variety called Thumbelina that only gets to about 20 centimetres. And that's the best one for perfume. If you're going to grow for plants for that beautiful potpourri or for extracting oil, then that is ideal. And so at the Leafy Hollow, they do a farm, and they've got a still, and this is what they do. They get those English lavenders and another one called Lavandin, which is another cross of English lavender, and they'll put all those flower heads and the stalks into a big colander and then steam it, and it gets all the oil out, and it'll come through just like a still, and then they'll condense it, and then they'll extract a bit of oil out of that lavender. And again, that oil is very useful for anything from soaps to perfumes. And the water that's left over, that's called hydrosol, and that can be used for sprays and other things as well. So back to the plants, if you're growing them in the garden, then I'd probably say yes, you can grow English lavender in Auckland, but it probably grows much better down in the South Island where it's a bit cooler, and obviously places like the UK, you're going to get better luck with that English lavender. I think it's cold tolerant about minus 29 Celsius, so it's a very good one for that. Generally, in its naturally growing in that sort of higher altitude levels in the Mediterranean, in the 1,000 meters plus area, whereas French lavender is more coastal, so that's probably why it does much better in our Auckland climate. So Lavandula or Lavandin is a cross between Lavandula latifolia, which is called the spike lavender, and its name then becomes Lavandula cross intermedia. And that's just, yeah, it gets a little bit complicated when you start crossing things, but that's a naturally occurring kind of natural hybrid that grows. And then so the popular ones there are called Grosso.
The one on the right is Grosso.
So this one's Grosso. Yeah.
On the left is Super.
Super.
And
you can see
they're
the
all
difference.
they're both intermediates, but they're both grown for oil.
Yeah.
The Grosso is really strong.
Yeah.
So I use that in soaps because it holds its fragrance. The Super has got a more floral fragrance, so I use that in my creams and lotions and things.
And Provence is another popular one, but there's quite a few. I'm just picking the most popular ones there. And then after that, you've really got the Spanish lavenders, and Spanish lavenders is Lavandula stoichus, and that, if you want flowers, that's the one to go for, because it comes in a range of different flowers, from the purples, the pinks, and the whites, and it's a sort of smaller, compact sort of plant, round about sort of 40, 50 centimeters tall, not very big, quite compact, flowers pretty good. I've grown a few of them in my garden. They tend to be the ones that you sort of go and then you sort of buy because of the flowers, but I found that they don't sort of tend to last that long for me. The best one for me was the Lavandula dentata, which is the French lavender. So lots of different uses for them, from potpourri for just growing as shrubs in your garden, hedges, nice hedges, but great plants to use. And yeah, been around for thousands of years and good to have in your garden. Okay guys, we'll leave it there and we'll see you in the next one.